All right, guys, we're going to get started. First of all, thank you so much for attending. As you can see my screen here, what we're going to be doing is going over some what I'll call tips and tricks. The purpose of this webinar here, guys, is exclusively for existing Cloud PMS users. So this isn't a salesy thing or anything like that. It's all educational. And what kind of drove the idea here is that, I do my best to reach out to properties each and every week to try and get a better understanding how the software is working for them, what they like and don't like, is it improving efficiency. So if I haven't got to you yet, the calls are coming. The whole idea here is to make this product the best that it can be, to enhance your business, help increase revenue, help improve efficiency. So feedback is imperative. Something that I want you to pay attention to here, notice my title, VP of Customer Success. So I recently changed that, and the reason why is I think more important than growing our customer base is retaining our customer base. And what I mean by that is we adamantly are striving to make the business operational tools that we provide for your small independent properties not only affordable but impactful. And in order to do that, it goes much further than just signing you up for the cloud and then hoping everything's working out. So hopefully you guys see that through our user voice community where you can share feedback. You see that through what I'm trying to start today with this tips and tricks webinar. You see that through the phone calls, the customer support team that is helping you guys out. So the more feedback that you guys can share, the better this product will become. Now, if we had unlimited resources and funding, I'd hire 1 million developers and we would bang things out as quickly as humanly possible. Unfortunately, that's not the case, but we try and prioritize these needs as best we can and try and get them done as quickly as we can with the best quality. So hopefully you guys see that, and hopefully you guys continue to share that feedback. So what I consider you all is family. You guys are our cloud family. You guys are very important to us. It's very important to us that we take care of you, and that's what this is all about. So I hope you guys enjoyed today. Now, the goal here, not only to show you a couple tips and tricks here, I've got 5 of them. The goal here today is to respect your busy schedules. So hopefully this time of day works out for you based on surveys and feedback that we've got. If not, love to hear that, as well as I want to try and keep this to 30 minutes or less. So let's start that timer now, and I'll do my best. Also, please feel free to use the chat feature or the questions within the GoToWebinar program. I'll try and do a little bit of question and answer at the end, and as usual, if there's anything that we don't get to, we'll do our best to follow up with you and get you guys some answers here. Okay, so I don't even know why I created a PowerPoint presentation. I got 4 slides here, so I'm just going to hop over to the program and jump right into it. So this should look familiar to all of you, right? This is our dashboard here in the cloud. So I'm going to navigate my way to the occupancy map. So the 5 tips that I've come up today, guys, have come from feedback from users saying, hey, this is a pain, or how do I do this, or why can't I do that? So I wanted to bring us all together here and kind of go over some things that happen probably, if not daily, at least weekly, that are probably pretty annoying to you now, and make sure that you understand how to kind of go through these things. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to cover moving a reservation, okay? I'm sure we've all experienced or will be experiencing moving an actual reservation. Well, you may be thinking in your head, well, Josh, that's easy, right? You just go up here in this corner, you click this reservation, and you slide it around. Then it prompts you, do you want to keep the current rate, or do you want to update the rate if those rates have changed? And then you make your selection, and everything's done, and it was moved successfully. So I've dragged that over, right? Well, that's easy, okay? But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about moving a reservation out way into the future, okay? So let's say that myself is calling in and I'm saying, hey, I don't want to come in March anymore. I want to come out on let's call it July 4th. Well, what I'm sure some of you are doing is you're grabbing this reservation and you're clicking and dragging this thing and you're doing this, right? Well, I'm going through a couple days at a time. I'm still in March and I'm already 5-10 seconds into this thing. Well, that's a nightmare. I don't want to do that, right? So another way that you guys can go about this is some of you are going into your occupancy map settings and you're going to your display settings, and then you're adjusting these things down as small as they go, and then you're clicking and dragging that reservation because it's a little bit easier to click and drag over several months that way. So the tip or the trick that I've got for you guys now is something a little bit easier. So let me walk you through this. So what we're going to do here is we're going to click on the reservation in question. So see here, I've got a 3-night reservation in the Big Apple room from the 5th through the 7th of March. So I'm going to click on this reservation. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a unit to this reservation, okay? And now what it's prompting me to do is it's saying, make your selection on the occupancy map. So what do I want to do? Well, I want to first go ahead and I want to pick the dates that this particular reservation wants to move to, and I referenced July 4th. So I'm going to jump to that date on the map here by using the calendar. And then what I'm going to do is I see that there's this particular unit. Now in this particular example, because I was practicing earlier, there's already a unit there, so I'm just going to move it here, but you'll understand what I'm trying to show you here. So I have my dates that I've moved to on the calendar. I have my unit. Now I click and drag that 3-night reservation, and I go ahead and I say book this unit now. Okay, well now back on Josh's reservation record, I have 2 of the same units, right? Here's the old one arriving in March, and here's the new one arriving in July. So what I simply do here is I click on this reservation, I click this edit button, and I hit remove. So what I'm doing is I'm removing basically the first reservation or unit from this invoice here. And in doing so, what that allows me to do is it allows me to keep the same guest with the same invoice and the same unit, and I was able to move that reservation to the dates that they wanted to without actually having to click and drag and do that for a couple minutes and get real annoyed, or without having to go into the occupancy map display settings and adjust things smaller, then click and drag it, and then go back and readjust them. So hopefully you guys see the value there. So here's that new reservation that I moved out into July. And if I hop back to the current time frame, I see that reservation is no longer there. So again, guys, you select the reservation in question, you go ahead and add your unit, you pick your dates, and then you delete the original unit that it was tied to for that reservation. So there's tip 1 for you. I'm assuming based on the feedback of hearing that many times and showing that, people were pretty dang happy about that. Now something that will get built in here down the road is we'll make that even more convenient to where you're not having to add a second unit and remove the first one. We'll have the ability to move the reservation by the actual date. So hopefully you guys appreciated that one. Okay, let me show you something else here now. The second thing what I want to go over here is, let's say that I have a room move. Okay, we need to basically change units. So let me give you a practical example that I'm sure you've all have experienced, and let me show you how to do this and explain why. So let's take this reservation here, Nancy. Nancy Knoll has a 2-night reservation and she's in our Suite of Dreams unit. Well, let's say something goes wrong on night 1. Nancy doesn't like the guest next door, the toilet stopped working, we've got some issues or whatever, allergies, something's going on, and Nancy requires that particular stay of that 2-night reservation. She stayed the first night, wasn't happy, she wants to move to a different unit here, okay? So what I'm going to do here, in order to keep the guest and the invoice the same, I don't want to delete this reservation and rebuild it and have to move payments and all that stuff, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually select this reservation. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to shrink this reservation, right? And it's going to say, do you want to resize your reservation? Does everything look good? So I'm going to say yes. So I've shrunk that reservation by 1 day. And I've got this reservation here, and I've got this edit button here where I'm going to go down and I'm going to click change rate or yes count. And what I'm going to do, oh, excuse me, that's not right. Uh-oh. Now I'm going to pick add a unit. Excuse me, I apologize. I'm going to add a unit to this reservation just like I kind of did before, and it says make your selection. So now I'm going to pick the unit that Nancy is moving to for the second night of this reservation here. I'm going to book that unit. And what it's going to do, guys, is it's going to keep everything on the same invoice. So sorry there, got hung up a little bit. So Nancy had a 2-night reservation in the Suite of Dreams, had an issue on the first night. We need to move her to a new unit on the second night. So I took a similar approach of selecting that reservation, adding a unit, and now I've got Nancy all on the same invoice, and I see night 1 here in the Suite of Dreams and night 2 on the Vineyard. The invoice is all together, the payment status, and everything has changed. So the feedback that I've gotten from people is that basically what they're doing is they're canceling these reservations, and it's becoming a nightmare to follow payments around that have already been taken, deposit or what have you. Or what people are doing is they're basically just creating a second reservation, and then now Nancy has 2 separate invoices because basically we created a second reservation. So hopefully with this second tip here, you guys see there's an easier way to basically move someone to a new room and keep all of the information intact there. And then when I click on either one of these here, and you see Nancy's name or on both of them, when I click on either one, it highlights them both, so I know that that is a conjoined reservation, for a lack of a better term, with all of the details that I need. So that's the second tip that I got for you guys. So let me take this even further. Something else that a lot of you have mentioned to me gets you hung up a little bit here is, let's say I need to apply a discount to a reservation, right? But I'm not talking about when I'm creating the reservation. I'm actually talking about applying a discount after the reservation has been made. So let's say, you know, a month ago, Ian O'Brien called in and he made this reservation, and then Ian comes and he's in there and he shows up today, and then for whatever reason I need to apply a discount. Either I've forgotten or something comes up and I'm trying to make it right. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm clicking on Ian's reservation and I'm going down and I'm going to jump into this invoice, okay? Within this invoice here, excuse me, here's the reservation. I click on it, and then I have this edit button where I can change the rate. And when I come in here to change this rate, I have the ability to click on this discount button. So this discount button, post-reservation, just like pre-reservation or while you're making the reservation, you can apply a discount, and that discount can either be a percentage or it can be a flat fee. So do I want it to be 5% off, 10% off? Do I want it to be a fixed amount, $10 off? Or I also have the ability to override the rate and come in here and manually make some adjustments if I don't feel like using one of these. So in this particular example, I'm going to take 10%, and notice how it updates the rate there and applies that 10%. I hit recalculate, and then I have to save it. Okay. So where I was going earlier with that, and I jumped the gun a little bit, is now I want to show it to you. So when I have this reservation highlighted and I go in to view the actual invoice, here's the original retail price, or in this case, the rack rate of the room. Then I see the adjustment that was made here, right? And then I've got my new totals. So instead of going in and working a discount in a different fashion, right there from that occupancy map, within basically one click, I can get into a reservation, apply the discount either by percentage or flat rate, or I can override the rate, and then all of those adjustments that I've made are showing up here on the actual invoice. Now, for those of you that want to track why that happened, the contact log or the notes fields are a good reason to indicate why you were actually giving a discount, or if you want to train your front desk staff, if you have other people on staff and we need to track why discounts are being given. So there's a good example, or tip 3, if you will, in kind of going through and doing something that probably happens frequently for you guys based on the 50+ people in which I've spoken to. That one comes up and gets them hung up a little bit. Okay, Next thing that comes up that I've heard a lot about or I've read about in our user voice community is related to payment status, okay? So I'm going to jump into a reservation that has no payment here, and I'm going to click Make a Payment. Well, what happens, right? The very first default thing or payment type, if you will, is cash. Well, based on the people in which I speak to, cash is not necessarily the preferred method of payment or the dominant method of payment. It's typically credit card. Well, it's kind of annoying that cash is the default, and then I got to click the drop down, and then I got to select credit card, and then I've got to go ahead and process either that deposit payment or the final payment. So I want to show you guys how to basically change what your default payment status type is that displays here, and I'm sure a lot of you are going to love this one. So let me close this, and then I'm going to navigate to the configuration section, and then I'm going to jump into payment settings. Well, you'll notice this list here. This list is the same order in which it was when I just showed you when I was trying to make a payment from the drop down. You'll notice these little triple lines over here. Somebody told me this is like a hamburger menu. It doesn't really make sense to me. It doesn't look like any hamburger I've ever seen, but nonetheless here, basically, you see when I highlight over these here, you see how the cursor of my mouse is changing, okay? Well, we've made these click and draggable, guys. So basically, you grab the one in which it is that you want, you move it to the position in which that you want, and now that will change that default option that pops out, and I'm probably assuming more than 90% of you guys, based on my experience and the people in which I've spoken to, have credit card as their what they want their default to be, and or it's their main payment type, right? So I've clicked and dragged that. So I've moved credit card to the top, and now cash is second, but quite honestly, I don't really like cash there because I get more checks than I do cash. Then I got to come up here in the upper right-hand corner and save this screen. I get the success message. Now if I navigate back to the occupancy map and I select a reservation and I click Make a Payment, now you'll see here that the default payment type is now credit card based on me basically making those adjustments. So for all of you guys that haven't done that yet or aren't aware, and credit card is your main method of payment, go ahead and adjust that, and it's going to save you a click from having to click this drop down and selecting the one that you want each and every single time you make a payment. And based on my experiences, the majority of you are running two payments, a deposit at the time of the reservation and final payment either at check-in or checkout. So hopefully this makes your guys' lives a little bit easier. Okay, I'm at about 23 minutes here, so I think I'm on a pretty good pace of keeping it 30 minutes or less. The last one I wanted to show you here that's actually come up a couple times here in the last week or so is when people need to mark units out of service, but they need to mark more than one unit out of service. So what are some examples? Obvious ones are there's issues with multiple rooms. Maybe I'm doing renovations or making upgrades. Maybe I'm putting in new mattresses all on the same day. Maybe I'm painting all on the same day. Maybe I need to block out multiple rooms from my online booking engine, and I need to do it with multiple units at a time, right? So basically what we get to do, guys, is to do just one room at a time. You click and drag the particular unit in question and the time frame that you want to block it out, and you go in here and you do this mark out of service, and you can put your reasons or any notes, right? And then when I click that mark out of service button and it gives me the successful message, well, there's my marked out of unit. Well, what we're trying to do is we're trying to block out many at once, right? So you come up here in order to do this, and you have this little basically a toggle for a group selection. So for those of you that have group reservations, you should be familiar with this when you're booking multiple units for a single reservation or a group reservation. We use basically the same function or feature when we're marking multiple units out of service at once. So let's say, for example, I need to jump to, I don't know, April 11th, and April 11th, I basically am going to take the Suite of Dreams, the Broken Arrow, and the Big Apple out of service. And the reason being is I'm getting all new mattresses, and it's going to take a little while because I got to get new bedspreads and all that jazz in there, right? Maybe a bad example, but nonetheless, you get the point. So I've toggled my group selection, and here's what I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and mark those units out of service, and I can do multiple units at a time, right? So I don't have to hold any buttons down on the keyboard like we used to in RezStream Professional. All I do is I select my group toggle, I pick the units in question and the time frames necessary. Oops, sorry. Then I have to remember to hit out of service. And then I come over here for my reasons, and I put in renovations or whatever the reason is, new beds. And then I mark these guys out of service here. And it gives me my successful message, and then I have my specific color on my occupancy map to indicate that those units are being marked out of service. So there's my final tip for today, or trick, guys. So in recapping, we've covered moving a reservation for a significant period of time, and we do that by adding a unit and selecting the particular dates in question and removing the first unit, so that way we don't have to mess with invoices. The second thing in which we covered today is changing a unit. So a guest has, say, a 2-night reservation and they weren't happy on night 1, so we need to move them into a new unit, but we don't want to cancel reservations or create second reservations where it messes up invoices or payments. So we simply add that unit and everything stays tight and convenient together, if you will. The third thing that we've gone over here is applying a discount post-reservation. So hopefully you guys see some value in that. The fourth thing that we went over is changing our default payment from cash, which is how the system is set, to credit card. So I think a lot of you are going to really get good use out of that, and it's going to save you some steps, make you more efficient when running your transactional payments. And then the last thing that we've covered here, based on feedback that I've got, is being able to mark multiple units out of service in a group selection. Now, before you guys run off, let me progress this thing here, and then basically what I want to do is I want to see if we got any questions in here. I'll go over those, but real quickly here, I got a little poll question for you. Let me see if I remember how to push this guy out. And hopefully you guys should see this on your screen any second here. So basically my poll question is in essence, would you like to see more of these types of webinars? Was this valuable to you? Was this helpful? So what I'm trying to do here is make sure that you guys are using your business tool, your operational tool that you use each and every day. I want to make sure that you are using it in the most convenient fashion for your specific property. Now, no two properties are alike, but a lot of us use similar functions or features or have certain needs. So is doing some type of ongoing webinar like this beneficial for you? So you've got a couple options here. You got yes, you got no. And then I tried to be funny on the last one, and it was something like, you know, I'm sorry, I was really busy, I had 50 things going on, I wasn't really paying attention. So let me see what the feedback is here. It looks like 85% of you have voted, and it looks like 92% of you have said, yes, Josh, this is helpful, thank you, do more of them. And 8% of you fell into the, I got 50 things going on. It's too hectic, I have no idea. So I like that. So I'm going to close this down, and then let me see here if I'm going to share that info just so you guys can see it. So you should be able to see that on the screen, the percentages of who did what. So let me open up this questions here. I know you guys are busy. I want to try and get you out of here, so let me see what I got. Let's see here. I got a couple of questions here, guys, but more comments than anything. So I don't think anything that's going to benefit everyone. But what I will do is, for those of you that had questions, we'll make sure that someone follows up with you. So I'm at 29 minutes and 30 seconds, so it's the first time in my life I've ever been able to keep my feedback or comments within the time window that I planned for. So greatly appreciate you guys showing up. If you have comments or feedback or anything, guys, that can enhance the system, enhance your life, share it with us, let us know. As mentioned, everything is important to us, and we'll do our best to get to these things as timely as possible. So again, thank you for your time, and we'll do more of these webinars, so stay on the lookout for emails and notices of this. Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.